pleasant morning and a warm welcome to your breakfast program, Good Morning Sierra Leone, live on television. We are, and I am Obaka Bangura, and Good Morning Sierra Leone is a program that starts your day on television.
Coming up, our quote for today says, it's an African proverb, and it says, where water is the boss, there the land must obey. Coming up in this morning's edition of the program, Good Morning Sierra Leone, World Bank boosts Sierra Leone's health sector.
President Ernest Bai Koroma returns home after United Nations C10 meeting.
And Kano Students' Union raised concern about illegal mining in Kano. All these stories and more, including your text messages, which you can send to the number 076-815-465, 076-815-465. But first, let's join our producer, Daphne Zanakmara, for the news in brief.
President Ernest Bai Koroma has returned to Freetown after his last leg of consultations with President Jacob Zuma State House in Pretoria, South Africa. The meeting was focused on present reforms of the United Nations in relation to the Common African Position for Permanent Seat Status. President Koroma is the chairman of the Committee of 10 Heads of State and Government of the African Union on the reform of the United Nations. The two heads of state and government exchanged views to maintain the Ezulwini consensus on the Common African Position and addressing challenges facing the continent. Sand mining along coastal lines has increased, leading to damage to the environment with socio-economic implications. After engagement with relevant institutions, government has taken a robust approach to tackle the situation. One area that has been targeted for enforcement by the Sierra Leone Police is the Peninsular Axis. A team headed by the local unit commander Goderich Division Superintendent Ambrose Savula visited Sussex, Bobo and Levuma beaches along Goderich for engagement with residents. The Director General National HIV/AIDS Secretariat, Alhaji Dr. Mamadou Sase, has said young people have a significant role to play in ending AIDS by 2030. He made this disclosure during a symposium for students and representatives of other institutions on the theme Ending AIDS by 2030, the role of young people at the YWCA Old Hall in Freetown. And now for news around the world, the Iraqi government has declared 3 days of national mourning after a huge bomb in the capital Baghdad killed at least 125 people and wounded about 150. A lorry packed with explosives was detonated in the Karada district while families were shopping for the holiday marking the end of Ramadan. Rescuers said whole families had been wiped out and many victims were burned beyond recognition. So-called Islamic State has said it's carried out the suicide attack. The former head of the Sierra Leone's army, Major General Nelson Williams, has been kidnapped in Nigeria, reportedly in the northern Kaduna state. Major General Williams, Sierra Leone's Deputy High Commissioner to Nigeria, was believed to have been traveling there for a ceremony at a military base. Police say it is unclear where he was kidnapped and taken or if he was traveling in a convoy. Kidnapping for ransom is common in some parts of the country. Bangladeshi officials have named 5 of the men who on Friday carried out the country's worst terrorism attack and said they were known to police. 20 hostages, most of them foreign, were killed when Islamist militants stormed a cafe in the capital, Dhaka. 2 police officers also died and 30 were injured. After a 12-hour siege, commandos rescued 13 people. The so-called Islamic State IS group said it was behind the attack, but the government has denied this.
Well, that was Daphne Zainab Kamara with the local and international summary. The program is Good Morning Sierra Leone live on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. You can be part of the program by sending your thoughts to the number 076-815-465. We love to hear their comments and we read them live on Good Morning Sailing. And how did you manage to come to work this morning, taking into consideration and the heavy
Don't ask me, just don't ask me.
Why?
Okay. You're not going to speak in tongues, I told you already.
Right.
Because you're denying me.
Okay, we talked that after in the program this morning. The program is Good Morning Sailing live on the Sailing Broadcasting Corporation. And now for our first issue this morning, President Ernest Bai Koroma returned to Freetown after his last leg of consultations with President Jacob Zuma at State House in Pretoria, South Africa. The meeting was focused on present reforms of the United Nations in relation to the Common African Position for Permanent Seat Status. President Koroma is chairman of the Committee of 10 Heads of State and Government of the African Union on the reform of the United Nations. The two heads of state and government exchanged views on the Common African Position and addressing challenges facing the continent. President Koroma and President Jacob Zuma also discussed bilateral relations, for which both leaders pledged their commitment to strengthening them further. President Koroma returned home after visiting Egypt, Zimbabwe, and other countries in pursuit of carrying out the United Nations African Committee of 10. Well, earlier, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Dr. Samura Kamara, also paid a working visit to those countries. Well, he is our studio guest this morning. Good morning, Doc, and a warm welcome to Good Morning, sir. Indeed, it's a pleasure having you here this morning. Now, let's talk about the meeting of President Ernest Bai Koroma to some African states garnering support for a permanent seat of the African Union in United Nations. So take us through the meetings.
Let me perhaps, with your permission, premise my answer to your question by saying that the month of June was probably, arguably, the most exceptional and busiest month for President Koroma since his presidency in terms of international engagement.
Okay.
We started with his attendance of the ECOWAS summit, where the groundbreaking achievement was done, where the new president of the ECOWAS Commission was appointed, and then he unleashed his program for 16 member countries of ECOWAS. And then that was followed by another meeting of the Mano River Union, where the three heads of states agreed to discuss the issue of the new Secretary General of the Mano River Union. Okay. The Secretary Generalship is now going to Liberia, and then the other positions will be shared accordingly. The appointment of the new president of ECOWAS went to Benin.
Okay. So
that was a very good, very successful engagement. And then came the most tedious engaging travels of President Koroma, where we started off with Chad, where he had discussions with President Idris Deby, who is presently the chairperson of the AU. And then slept one night, following night went to Egypt, where he met President Sisi. Mind you, Egypt is a pillar in the Arab world, where three-thirds of Arab countries are in Africa. And then from Egypt, after 2 nights, he went to Zimbabwe. He met the African brand, President Robert Mugabe. They had very good discussions, and after that, we went on with President Zuma. In 1945, after the war, the United Nations decided to set up the UN and the Security Council. Now, since that time, there has not been a major reform of the United Nations Security Council, except in 1965, when members of the Security Council, the number was increased from 11 to 15, comprising the 5 permanent, and we know all the five permanent countries. These are the major builders of the UN. United Kingdom, France, Russia, China, now and then France. They all came together. And then, since then, there has not been any reform of the United Security, despite the change in geopolitical power, geopolitical economic strength of member countries, the increase in integration, global integration, the AU and all that were formed. Now, in 2005, there was a general meeting, and why it was agreed that yes, it was time for the United Nations Security Council to be reformed, plus other aspects of the UN, the relation between the Security Council and the UN, and then the methods of operations, etc. It was in the same year that Africa also took up the mantle. Within the year, they held a meeting in Ezulwini in Swaziland and agreed their own position in terms of reform, which is wanted to have 2 permanent members in the Security Council of it. And they also want an increase in the non-permanent category from 3 to 5.
So was President Ahmed by Nkrumah able to gather support from all the heads of states he visited?
It's not only about getting support from the heads of states. The sequence of development is that it's been 10 years since Sierra Leone has chaired the Committee of 10. And the mandate for the security to the CTN was to canvass and advocate and advance the African common position. It was not to negotiate. And canvassing meant out of 54 African countries, you had some countries that belonged to other groupings. But out of the 193 members of the United Nations, a lot of them have put themselves into various groups. You have the G4, you have the L69, you have the United for Consensus, about 15 countries. You have the Caribbeans, now you have the Arab group, you have what they call the ACT, Accountability Group. So many groups, everybody now wants a seat in the permanent category. Others are not so much eager to have a seat, but they want a reform. But the good thing is that there is a general consensus that there is time to reform the United Nations and more particularly the UN Security Council. So after 10 years, President Nkrumah has now taken the most tedious journey to go and consult some of his major peers in Africa that have strong voices, the countries we have just mentioned. Yeah. But prior to this, during his tenure as chairman, he has been going around canvassing all the groups. So there is now.
What are the level of cooperation between the C10 and the C4 countries? That is Japan, Brazil. On the same issue.
Well, as I said, everybody supports the African common position in terms of Africa having representation at the United Nations Security Council in both categories. But the issue has been the issue of the veto. Africa is saying we don't like the veto because it does not bring equity and fairness. But if it exists, if we are there, we also must enjoy the veto. Any member who is appointed, who is accepted as a permanent member, also enjoy the veto. And that's why the problem is the P5 have their own problems with it. Mind you, they control that in the Security Council. So going around, it was like a precursor. For the first time, there's going to be a special debate by African heads of state after 10 years to review, to exchange views on the progress that's made so far in canvassing their situation and advocating for their opposition. And that's why President took upon himself to go around, to talk to Chad, talk to Egypt, talk to Zimbabwe, and also to talk to South Africa. He has slated to even talk to Kenya. President, so that by the time of the closed-door meeting, he would have understood their own opinion and he was going to report accordingly.
Will the desired objective be achieved within the next 2 years?
It's difficult to tell, but President Nkrumah wants the Kigali meeting to be a defining moment in Africa's advocacy. That is his goal. After 10 years, let us come back and take major decisions now. The major decision for Africa, for the African Common Position, was taken in 2005. It's now 10 years. We've been talking, he's been canvassing, his colleagues and all the rest of it. This time round, he said, let us meet in a closed-door meeting and review our position.
Now, what is going to be the benefit of Africa in case this common position has been achieved? So, what is going to be the benefit?
I think the bottom line is that if you have been following up discussions in the United Nations, both at the General Assembly level, but also at the U.S. Security Council level, over 80% of the issues discussed pertain to Africa, they affect Africa. But then Africa's voice in final decision-making process is weak. So therefore, it is the view that Africa has grown, has matured economically, politically. The voice, African voice has grown up. So yeah, it now needs to be considered among the equals. So I think that's a great advantage there for Africa. If Africa can be part of the decision on its destiny.
We are talking about a continent, not an individual country. In case this is achieved, which country will represent Africa?
We have not come up to that, but I think the AU has a model, they have a formula of appointing representation. And when it comes to that, the AU will decide.
So are we thinking of saying South Africa, Kenya, even Egypt?
I wouldn't tell, I don't know.
No, but the said President Nkrumah canvassing for this permanent reform, he also held bilateral relations with the presidents.
All of them.
No, take us through.
First, discussions were at both diplomatic level as well as in terms of economic and technical cooperation. Chad will not have that strong diplomatic relationship outside our membership of the same union. We're in ECOWAS together and we're in the AU together. So the presidents tried to forge a relationship, and we're going to follow up on that at the level of the foreign ministries. In Egypt, where I thought we had the most successful engagement, Egypt and Sierra Leone had a strong technical cooperation.
Why did you define that as the most successful engagement?
Because I'm coming to that. Particularly in the area of military cooperation. They've had a very strong relationship where the president noted, and they all agreed that most of the senior, at the senior level, the senior officers of the military went through the Egyptian military academy. And so it was time for President Nkrumah to go back and revisit this and then revive it, because it seemed to have dissipated over the years. So he wants to revive it, and there was a general agreement that this is time, and he has agreed to send a high-level delegation from the security forces to go there for training, capacity building, material support, etc. But on top of that, he also visited what they call the military production, that is the factory for producing all sorts of military hardware, software, etc. That's the first time I think I myself have been privy to that type of but we were very impressed. And then beyond that, he talked about agricultural, technical cooperation, health, in the health sector. Very soon, I think yes, the minister will be informed what needs to be done. Even foreign service will also have benefited from it. I think Egypt has a strong potential to provide Australian immense support going forward. In Zimbabwe, you realize that during the war, apartheid war in Zimbabwe, a lot of Zimbabweans studied in Sierra Leone. So we want to continue that type of program, where there will be an knowledge exchange program between Sierra Leone and Zimbabwe. And in any case, Zimbabwe is also very good as commercial farming, particularly in tobacco and other areas. So they also discuss that type of thing. In South Africa supported us during the Ebola war. Do you remember? They funded the Cuban, they funded a laboratory. And they also supported the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So they agreed that there will be a further opportunity to reopen and elaborate and strengthen this type of cooperation. Again, the two ministries will follow up on that. So, on the whole, June has been a groundbreaking month for the president in terms of his international engagement.
All right, let's move away from the president's international engagement to that of the kidnapping of Deputy High Commissioner
in Nigeria.
To Nigeria. So ever since he was kidnapped on the earliest of the 1st of July, what has been the recent development?
This has been, the kidnapping is an unfortunate and regrettable development in any country and for any country. President Nkrumah got the news in the morning of Friday, the first of this month. And immediately he called on the High Commissioner, Aja Hafsat to visit the foreign office, to go and engage them and to see what steps could be done. All I can say is that since that time, the two governments are working very, very closely together to see that there is a very quick, peaceful resolution. Events are still unfolding. We have received a note verbal from the government of Nigeria expressing their regret and expressing the hope that they will do everything possible to make sure that there's a peaceful resolution. And this is why we are at the moment. And President Nkrumah, as I sit here, that's why I told her I'll be going to the State House. He's called a meeting of all relevant institutions, sit down, exchange ideas, and listen to the next steps. But the bottom line is that the Nigerians are very, very positive that they're on top of it.
Was he having security men?
I don't know.
So we know that he was coming from military graduation in Kaduna while he was kidnapped. Now, according to what we heard, that the kidnappers are saying that he should pay, or the government should pay $40 million for him to be released. So who is going to pay that money? Who is going to pay that money?
I told you,
the
events are still unfolding, information is still unfolding. We are working directly with the government of Nigeria. So we're waiting. We're in close touch with it.
We hope that he's released.
I think all I would appeal to everybody is that when abduction takes place, it's a very delicate event. If you don't know the facts, people should stop making comments on the facts. We should be very economical with our comments, with our statements, because it's a state relationships. And you also don't want to give information or make comments that will jeopardize the progress in advancing the release, the effort that is being made to secure the release.
So will this recent happening not jeopardize the relationship between the two continents?
No, I'm not saying this one. I'm just saying I've had a lot of comments from people. All I want to appeal is those who have called for prayers, I support them. Let's pray that there's a peaceful resolution into all of this. Those who have already started praying, let us pray. Actually, let us stop at that and allow the two governments to work and try to.
So who are the people who
sympathize with the family? The president sympathizes with the family.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Who are the people who kidnapped? Is it Boko
I don't know. So I've told you, I don't know. I have no idea.
All right, thank you very much.
The Nigerian government is on top of it. They are also finding all sort of information.
All right, thank you very much. Continue to stay with us. There is the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Dr. Samura Kamara. The program you're watching is Good Morning Stereo, coming to you live on the SLBC in Freetown. You too can understand this program by sending in your comments or text messages to the number 076-815-465. We'll go for a short break. We'll be right back.
It's a music break. We'll be right back. Well, the program is Good Morning Sierra Leone live on the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. Over to you, Anna.
Next this year, the World Bank has a grant and credit totaling $45.5 million as boost to the health sector. The agreement was signed by Sierra Leone Minister of Health and Sanitation, Dr. Abubakar Fofana, and the World Bank country managing Sierra Leone, Paminda Bra. Here to tell us about the agreement is the Minister of Health and Sanitation, Dr. Abubakar Fofana. Good morning, Doctor, and welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you.
The health sector has received a boost of $45.5 million. What does that mean?
Well, it means a lot for us as a country because, as everybody knows, we are just coming out of the biggest outbreak of viral hemorrhagic fever disease in the world, and our health system was basically crumbled. Now there is a need to revitalize it. So this support means a lot in that direction.
So can you take us through, the components of the agreement that was signed? Because we've come to realize that it has two components.
Yes, thank you very much. And yes, so we developed two projects in close collaboration with the bank, and in the past 2 weeks the World Bank board has just approved these projects. These are what we call the Regional Disease Surveillance Systems Enhancement Project, REDISI for short, and the other one is the Health Sector Support Project, which is the HSP project. The REDISI project is worth 30 million United States dollars, and the health sector support is worth 15.5 million United States dollars.
So now, where does the Ebola recovery plan comes into these two projects?
Thank you very much. You would recall that post-Ebola, the president had two priorities. One is to strengthen the health system and make it resilient so that we will be able to prevent in the very first instance, and in the event we are not able to prevent, we'll be able to detect quickly and respond robustly to any future threats of either same or similar nature. That is to reinforce reinforcing our surveillance system. So that is one of the priorities of the president. And the second priority of the president in the health sector is to reduce the maternal and child deaths. So you can see that these two projects, the REDISI, which is the Regional Disease Surveillance System Enhancement Project, fits with the president's first objective of building a resilient health system and maintaining Resilient Zero. And the Health Sector Support Project also fits in perfectly with the president's second agenda, which is to reduce maternal and child death. So it's from this second project that we are going to support projects like which everybody will see very soon, the National Ambulance Service, wherein you will be anywhere in the country, you pick your phone, call for an ambulance,
anywhere in the country, including those areas where we do not have better road network.
Yes, anywhere basically, because it's a completely decentralized service. It's going to be based at a cheaper level.
So how many ambulances are we talking about?
It will be hundreds of ambulances, because basically ambulances. Yes, that's right. Because basically what we're saying, what this ambition is that every single chiefdom should have one, and we have 149 chiefdoms. Yes, and in the western area where we don't have chiefdoms, we have wards. Roughly, we say maybe 5 wards will represent the chiefdom. So if you divide all the wards in the western area by 5, we have about 70 like chiefdoms, like with another additional 70 ambulances, so 149 ambulances. So we have 163 ambulances on the road at any point in time.
Now take us through this on 149 chiefdoms. You said every chiefdom there's going to be one ambulance.
Yes.
Is that enough? Taking into consideration the chiefdoms that are so big.
We have to start from somewhere. The ambulances are specialized vehicles. They are very costly. Before we didn't have them. Now we are having at least one ambulance per chiefdom. we'll set them in motion and see how it goes. And we also have to forget the fact that this is for emergency medical cases. It's not like everybody knows, for example, that if you give back today, the first week your child should have OPV vaccine. The sixth week you should have this. These are routine medical services. You don't need to call the ambulance for that. If when it's time to take your child to the hospital for vaccine, for MACLET, as we call it, you take the normal transportation. This is for emergency medical services. For example, we're talking about a situation wherein a 9-month-old pregnant woman suddenly begins to bleed from down below. That's an emergency. So if we educate our people properly on what is an emergency and they use the ambulance for that purpose, they will go a long way. So
in your premise, you said, this money is to strengthen the health sector to deal with future outbreaks that may be similar to that of Ebola or new ones.
Yes, correct.
And now, in places where health services are poor, how can the people in these areas, access quality medical services, and also for government to enhance the PHU across the continent?
Basically, what we are doing is we are organizing the communities at the lowest level. We are organizing them into like watchdogs, into like surveillance groups, because there's a lot of information that we can get from even from the communities at that level. For example, if you live in a village, but all of a sudden you notice that 4 or 5 people started having diarrhea, that's an unusual occurrence. It is difficult for us at the Ministry of Health to know what is happening in, say, like Polisoko or Kamasasa village. Or Kamasasa will be able to say that we don't have this kind of situation, and then they will quickly trigger the surveillance system and then inform maybe the in charge of the PHU. The in charge of the PHU will in turn inform the DMO in Gambia district. The DMO will inform the Director for Disease Prevention and Control, and the Director for Disease Prevention and Control will in turn inform the Chief Medical Officer, who will escalate to the minister, and then we will kickstart the response to that.
So, for me, I'm so interested in this ambulance project now. So, in case there is an emergency, how will the people get access to this facility?
When even in some area we don't have networks, you cannot connect when you want to make calls.
The terrains are raw.
I agree with you. This is why, in the ideal situations, we're talking about maybe Europe and America, every single house has a door number. There's not a single house in the US or the UK that does not have a door number. Every single street has a name, and not only that, before you enter the streets, you see the name of the streets clearly, and every single road is accessible. Every single street or road or avenue is accessible. But that is in the ideal world. In our own case, not every house in this country has a door number. Probably even us sitting here, how many of us? Let's go and check if you see a clear door number in our doors. Not every street has a name, let alone to say every street is signposted. So not every road is accessible.
That's the responsibility.
Yes, this is why. Exactly. So if we bring in an ambulance system that relies on every house having a door number, every street having a name and signposted, every road being accessible, probably that system will only benefit a tiny fraction, maybe just a few of us sitting here, and then the affluent one. And the president is very clear in his directives that he does not want any system that will disadvantage the masses. Yes. So because of that, that's a clear instruction from the president. We have to think outside the box and come up with a system wherein we will develop what we call ambulance pickup points. Yes, maybe like for the whole of New England, for example, we know that there are areas in New England not accessible, but we'll look for 2 or 3 or 5 points within New England that we know they are accessible by ambulances, and we'll clearly signpost them as ambulance pickup points. So if you call an ambulance, all you need to do is get 2 or 3 of the family members to put you in a stretcher or wheelchair or whatever and bring you to that ambulance pickup point. And the ambulance, if you get there before the ambulance, you wait. If the ambulance get there before you, it waits. So in that way, there's equity. Yes, and in fact, it's also in favor of the disadvantaged, because maybe Minister Samura and I have will not want to go and put our wife in an ambulance pickup point waiting for an ambulance. Yes, but the masses is public. Yes.
Now,
So
are we not going to see this ambulance with codes in there?
Yeah.
Yes, in fact, intercepted 3. Yes, so we have caught 3 drivers, prosecuted, so we have 100% prosecution rates.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, I caught one again in McKinney, was sentenced and then fined and so on.
Now, the Ebola disease, exposed the weakness of our health sector, and now all of these agreements that are signed, is to give boost to the health sector. And we are in the recovery plan. So, as the Minister of Health and Sanitation, are we there yet?
Well, we just finished the first phase of the recovery, that's the early recovery period, which is largely successful because remember during just towards the end of when we were pronounced Ebola free, the President made 2 priorities. One is to maintain a resilience 0. That is no more new case of Ebola, either in the hospitals or in the communities. That is one of the President's objectives. The second priority in the early recovery is to restore essential health services. And if you look at what's happening, the President has achieved both objectives. Since we were declared Ebola free November 7th last year, except for that breakthrough in Tokolili, which is not unusual, and which we handled in record time, there has not been any new case of Ebola either in the hospitals or PHUs or in the community.
What do you refer to as essential health services?
And then in terms of restoring, you also recall that in the peak of the Ebola, all the hospitals were empty. People rather prefer to manage their sick people at home than take them to the communities. But now the problem we have now is 2 patients in a bed in a hospital.
This is
the problem. So this means that confidence,
infants occupying a bed.
Yes, that actually is not correct. But
it's not correct.
Yes.
So what is correct then?
No, okay. If you look at that heading, it said 6 infants, 6 babies, 6 children. 6 children at Cottage Hospital. Okay, fine. At Frobe Road, we have 2 hospitals. We have the Princess Christian Maternity Hospital, which everybody called Cottage, and then we have the Oladurin Hospital, which everybody called Children's Hospital.
So which one are you
But for the sake of, we give the writer the benefit of the doubt because he says Cottage, so we assume he knows the difference between the 2 hospitals. So we go to Cottage, assuming that is what he meant, right? What we have in Cottage is newborn babies, which is a subset of children. Children is from the day they are born to 17, 18 years. They are still in the pediatric age group. They are children. But newborn is the first 28 days of life. So these are the ones we have in Cottage, which is referred to. And wait,
these are the ones
and no baby.
There are only Oladurin Children's Hospital is what he's talking about. Maybe he
well, I'm not. The one I saw on Friday was maybe because remember I gave an interview on that, and maybe that's why he went and now correct and go to Oladurin. But just to finish on that case, the only 2 circumstances wherein a baby, a newborn, will take 28 days at Cottage is either if he's born premature and he needs to be taken to the special care unit to be incubated, or maybe if it's a cesarean birth and then the wound did not heal on time. But other than that, you don't have a baby taking 28 days at Cottage. Within 24, 48 hours, normal delivery, you are discharged. Caesar, maybe 1 week at most. And those cots, they are like this. There is no way you can have 6 newborns in a cot like this. It's not possible. Number two. No, that's what I'm telling you. It's not a bed. Yes. The only other, if they are not in the cots, they are in the beds with their mothers for born. And we all know the hospital beds. You are saying that you have 6 mothers and 6 babies in
Okay. Continue to speak.
In a hotel.
Well, he is the Minister of Health and Sanitation, Dr. Abubakar Fofana, and the program is Good Morning Saturday Live on the Saturday Broadcasting Corporation. You can be part of this program by sending your thoughts to the number 076 815 465 Now to another story we are following here this morning. Kono Students Union has raised a press release calling on authorities to stop what the union called illegal town mining along the Congo Bridge in Korydon City. According to them, the mine is against enemy and ECOWAS Act of Parliament. Recently, a meeting was called by stakeholders, including the Residence Minister Iskamo Kaba in Kono, where they described the current activity as unwanted materials. For more on that, we have in the studio a member from the Students Union, and his name is Jeremiah Banga. Good morning, Mr. Banga, and welcome to this program.
Good morning.
So we reported on that story. It was on bulletin here at SLDC. Can you take us through what were the issues discussed at this stakeholders meeting, town hall meeting?
Yeah, let me give you a background to that meeting. On the 17th of June, we started a campaign against that particular town mining, which is going on along the Congo Bridge. The mining started early June, but when the mining started, the people of Kono were not informed about that particular mining. So CONSU, as a union, we started our campaign. We outlined 3 objectives. 1, for the people of Kono to know the people who are behind the mining. Because when the mining started, people started asking questions. Why this mining? Who are doing the mining? Some people answer and say, powers from above.
So, in other words, I'm being to interrupt you. In other words, are you referring to this as, or the residence minister, what he said in previous interviews, that it was the clearing of unwanted material? So are these not unwanted material? Is it actual diamond mining that is ongoing in the town?
Yeah, it is mining. I'll come to that. Let me just give you a background for. So when we raised the campaign, we wanted the Kono people to have answers to who are doing the mining and why the mining. So we had a particular, we had answer, of course, because on the 20th we presented our stance to the District Security Committee.
What was the stance?
Our stance is that we condemn the mining and the mining should stop.
But the minister was saying they are removing unwanted materials.
Yes.
Are they not unwanted materials?
I don't know if diamonds are unwanted materials.
Well, we don't know that it's diamond. He is saying that unwanted materials.
In the meeting, it was made clear that it is mining. And they are doing mining there.
What are they mining? Diamond?
That place has huge deposit of diamonds, so it is possible that they are doing mining. Of course, I was not allowed to see the site. I decided to make tours to that place, but of course, we are not allowed, and my members. So let me come to the meeting. So like I was saying, CONSU has established objectives. 1, to ensure that the people of Kono have full knowledge about the mining, because when the mining started, people were not informed. And also to ensure that the mining stops. Another is to ensure that the proceeds, because the mining has been going on for quite a long time, the proceeds is accounted for, because we have history to tell us that several of those mining activities have not benefited Kono. We have the waterworks, which was mined on that same ticket. We have the Kensi, the one we are now using as bypass. It was also mined by politicians in 2005 on the same promises that they are going to use the proceeds to benefit, to develop Kono. Of course, the third site we are talking about, whether it is mined or not mined, the road is going to be constructed because it has been awarded to Chico.
So this is affecting the road construction there?
Yes, it is.
So that's the reason why you say that should stop?
Well, not only because it is,
you think maybe proceeds from the mining would not benefit Kono?
Not only because it is disturbing the construction, but that even the phenomenon that is continuing. Imagine 2005 it was done by politicians, and now it is also, a group of people are also coming together to do the same mining. So today is Congo Bridge. In time past it was Waterworks and Kense. Another, in future it could be another strategic place.
Was your residence minister promised that proceeds from this mining activity would go towards building hospitals, building schools, and develop the Kono community itself for you to benefit from it. Are you doubting what he's saying, or
No,
is it that you do not have faith in him?
Let me tell you, there are no structures in place to ensure that indeed the proceeds from that mining will benefit. Okay, let's say that is even the consent of the people of Kono to mine that place. But the two councils are involved. The two councils have not held meetings with their councillors to inform them about the structures or the steps or necessary structures that they are put in place to ensure that the proceeds from that mine benefit Kono people. The same thing applies to other institutions that are informed. Council is part of the Youth Commission, registered with the Youth Commission. The Youth Commission, the Youth Chairman of Kono District. We even chat personally, but I am not informed as to what structures are put in place. Likewise, his executive members. So you see, the whole mining is just a handpick of few individuals trying to mine the place. And
so what about the paramount chief, the local authorities? What are they saying?
Right. On the 26th of June, the meeting we held, there was nothing in the paramount chief. There was a regent, the speaker of Sankor, they are representing the paramount chiefs. But we are doing our groundwork to ensure that we meet most of the paramount chiefs. Qualicity, is seated acting two chiefdoms. Two chiefdoms are in Qualicity. We have the Tankor chiefdom, we have the Benson chiefdom. From our research, it is quite clear that even the other chiefdom is not even part of the mining. So that's even the major part of the city is in Benson.
So as we speak, what the present situation? Is the mining going on, or is the construction still going?
It is mining that is going on. And the mining is even more expansive because you have people, dwellers along that road now. They are being disturbed with mining. There are several of them, like there was a garage here which has been relocated. We have other dwellers who are around there. Of course, there is even, there are reported cases, like we have several of them. One was, one Mr. Thomasan was beaten. Later he was appeased with some to keep quiet. We have another, we have a pastor who was constructing his church, and he was told that his lot was going to be mined. That's sad news, and he kicked the bucket from the
you know the problem, we reported on the stakeholders meeting, and what we are hearing to the outcome of that meeting. What has been said? Is it that they should halt the mining and wait for construction, civil construction?
So you were not part of that meeting?
We, like in our press release, we stated that the meeting was prompted as a result of the campaign that Council raised. The meeting was not intended by the people who are doing the mining. It is because we created an alarm that the people of Kono want to know about the mining. Then we were informed that they were going to come to talk to the people of Kono. That meeting, in our press release, also stated there is a state mining meeting. People who attended that meeting can attest to the fact that the meeting had no agenda. How can a meeting of that strategic nature, has no agenda from start to end? And I requested for the agenda, before the meeting started, 2 days before the meeting actually commenced. I requested to the resident minister. He was just saying the meeting is a basic meeting, but I was asking for the agenda, because you cannot have such a strategic meeting without agenda. You have other stakeholder institutions that you are not invited, like the NMA, the EPA. You are not invited. And such institutions, they need to be invited.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
To stay with us, Jeremiah Banga. The program is Good Morning Sierra, live on the Sierra Broadcasting Corporation. Text messages, ma'am.
Yeah, we'll go through them quickly. This one says, what is the latest on the kidnapping of Sierra Leone's High Commissioner to Nigeria? Maybe, this text that wasn't listening.
Yeah.
The minister actually said that present talks, negotiation is ongoing between the Sierra Leonean government and that of the Nigerian government. The next one says, is the president canvassing for Sierra Leone to have a seat at the UN Security Council or for another country?
This has to do with the African continent. not an individual country.
So the next one says, Dr. Fofana, we hope this aid will help improve our healthcare system. Another one says, how will this money be used, as we do not want to see a white elephant project. The next one says, who is fooling who? This kind of issue needs independent analysis and solution. Another one says, how will the country benefit from all these visits by the president? And the last one from our side says, what are the monitoring mechanisms to ensure that monies and ambulances are used for the intended purposes?
Okay, now, Dr. Fofana is here. He will respond to some of the text messages. But before that, Doctor, you went to the Chinese Forensic Hospital the last time, about a week ago, wherein the Chinese government made commitment that they're going to construct a laboratory. So take us through that before you respond to some of the text messages.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, the Chinese government has actually constructed a level 3 laboratory. In terms of biosecurity, biosafety security, laboratories are classed into level 1, level 2, level 3, depending on the kind of pathogens that laboratories are equipped to handle. So the UA laboratories are level 3, but we are going to move a step further from that to construct regional tropical disease research institutes.
Now, our text is saying, hope that this will be a white elephant, the ambulances.
No, there will not be a white elephant. That's why I think I took so long a time. I have over 100 ambulances backed at Cochrane. I could have released them 6, 7, 8, 9 months ago. Yes, I kept them for a reason, because I don't want them to suffer the fate.
But keeping them, there are people who need the facility.
No, it's simple.
No.
It's simple.
Yeah,
The ambulances come from the key. They came a couple of months ago. It's very simple.
It was during
I can call all my district medical officers. It's very simple. I can call all my district medical officers. I can call all my medical superintendents today at Cochrane, hand over keys to those ambulances today. But I can guarantee you that if I had done that 6 months ago, as we are sitting here today, none of those ambulances would have been roadworthy.
So
as
what
you
are
see,
we waiting for?
Yes, we are waiting. But there's the people.
No. We are putting the mechanism in place to
Mechanisms
for how many months
monitoring
putting
process?
mechanisms in place?
mechanism for managing. This is what has been lacking. Before I
At the
was
detriment
born,
of
before I
patients
was
also.
born 40 years ago, government buy ambulances, they distribute them to facilities, and then what happens? Three things happens. One, once the ambulances hit the facility, the balance of power changes from being in favor of the masses to being in favor of the powers that be. You will see an ambulance in the morning, typical morning.
Yeah.
Take all the ambulances in the country, take a survey, see who they have carried this morning. None of them has carried a patient.
No.
So the balance of power is not in favor of the people, right? That's one. The other issue is the misuse of the ambulances, which you all know about. Sitting here on just out of my own initiative, I have arrested 3 ambulance drivers and have prosecuted 3 ambulance drivers successfully, 100% successfully, for misuse of ambulances. The third issue about the ambulance is sustainability. You will see less than 6-month-old ambulance packed for something like an oil filter. We have to address these issues. Unless if people are saying that we don't mind, release the 50 ambulances, even if they all go rotten in 6 months' time. But I believe the people of this country, that's not what they want.
A balance of power, or are we to put proper mechanisms?
But that is what we are doing. This
But
is
it's been
no, listen.
now.
That is why go out there. If there is a single hospital in this country that does not have at least 2 ambulances, I'll give you the transport, I'll give you a vehicle. Go to all the 40 government hospitals in the country. That's why, as a stopgap, we have what to call short-term measures and then long-term measures. As a short-term measure, we ensure that every district health management team in this country, every single hospital have at least 2 ambulances, and they are in good order, they are up and running.
Okay.
These are the short-term measures, so that you can put sustainable long-term measures that will benefit the people of this country for the remaining ones. So that's what we are doing. So it makes sense.
Now, we have to, now somebody is saying, how would the money, the money, is it a loan or a grant from
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. It's a mixture of what we call grants and credits. But the credits is also what we call highly concessional credits, in that they have a very low interest rates and the repayment period is very long. So it's more or less like concessional, highly concessional loans, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. He is the Minister of Health and Sanitation, Dr. Abubakar.
Thank you very much.
The program has been Good Morning Sierra Leone, coming to you live on the SLBC. But I think this issue that has to do with the Kono mining. Before we go quickly, the council representative is here.
Yes.
What are you actually calling for?
We're calling for the mining to stop because such activity will create a negative phenomenon, and we fear an accelerator mining in the city, which has a negative impact on the landscape and also the dwellers. The environmental impact of such mining activities.
So have you met with the resident minister East to discuss all what you highlighted in the press release?
We
or
already
sent in a copy already.
The press release is yet on circulation. Of course, our stance, which was presented on the 26th in a 6-page document, they have a copy. It is clearly stated that we are against the mining and the mining should stop. One thing I want to also make clear is that there are a lot of agri parties in Connolly Street. So when you keep people in information drought, of course on that day they made it very clear that they are apologizing to the people of Kono for not informing them about the mining activity. Imagine
So who apologized?
The minister,
The minister,
yes,
okay.
the minister apologized, and some other people, they apologized to the people of Kono for not informing them about the mining. So what are we saying here? If such a strategic place is being mined by a set of people, let's even say it's a consent of the people of Kono. So, the revenue, if a lot of people see that it's not going to benefit some set of people and some set of people only benefit, then it will also fuel, some sort of violence.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll see how we monitor the situation. When the incident happened, we sent one of our renowned journalists there, Asmiba, and he reported on the issue. So we're going to see what through. Thank you very much. Is Jeremiah Banga, a member of the Kono Students Union Council. Well, Anne-Marie?
The program has been Good Morning Sierra Leone, coming to you live from the SLBC and Freetown. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Hope you enjoyed breakfast with us. From us, the Good Morning Sierra Leone team, and producer Daphne Zainab Kamara. The program returns tomorrow with
Anne-Marie and Sheikh Ismail.
And my
Thank you very much. Up next is Humor of the Day.
Motkachi, you're getting fat too. Me? Getting fat? How can you say that? I'm not getting fat. I said you're getting fat. See, you better stop that. I said I'm not getting fat. Me that is tall and plumpy, you say I'm getting fat. I don't like that though. You better stop it. You better mind your own business. Hey, Manila, come.
Auntie, good afternoon.
Welcome.
Auntie,
good afternoon, Emanuela. Auntie, look at me. Am I getting fat?
You are not getting fat. You're already fat.
Come on, get your mouth. I'm not getting fat. I'm only adding flesh.
Yes, fat flesh.
Look at this little girl. Do you know what it means to be fat?
See, Auntie, I know 5 fat people in this compound, and you're 3 of them.
You
better start drinking Slim
Mosquitoes and pesticides can be very irritating. They leave you with bumps,